So just want to thank everybody for joining. This will be recorded as well, so we'll be able to put this on in the future if you miss any of it. But really excited. This is something that I've been working on for a few years now. And this is actually the first time I will be sharing it with the public for free. We're going to be talking about how to eliminate debt for generations and stop paying the bank. Some of you guys may have been to some webinars where it takes 30 minutes or an hour or several hours before they get into the meat of the actual material and what they intend to discuss. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna jump right into it. My goal and my intent here is to leave you with the tools that you need not only to eliminate your current debt, but ensure that all your future generations are not left with debt either. And there's just too much money out there. There's too much asset that's being underutilized, and there are tools out there that most people are not familiar with, and that's really what I want to share with everybody today. So with that, let's jump right into it. We face a huge problem right now in our economy and in our society. It affects us in so many different ways. What is that problem? You guessed it. It's personal debt. I want you to consider what are some of the biggest debts that we currently see right now. If you remember, if you can think back to the early 2000s, credit card debt and even auto loans were already exceeding $500 billion. A little known problem at the time started to creep up, and by 2012, student loan debt eclipsed and then eventually skyrocketed past credit card and auto debts past 2012, now totaling $1.7 trillion. That's a lot of money that the average family has to face. Preventing families from buying their first house, from being able to buy a car, and forcing kids to move back with their parents or stay with their parents. So what ultimately is that doing to our economy, and what is that doing to us as a society? So that's a big problem that we face. But the question is why. Why did we get there? One thing is we can look at average wages, and represented here by the green line, you can see that average wages adjusted for inflation haven't really moved. So what can we do to prevent this? What can we do to get out of debt and ensure that your family and even those that you want to share this with can stay out of debt? So just really quick before we jump in, just want to introduce myself for those who haven't met me or we haven't been able to work together yet. My name is Jose Garcia. Been working with these products for many years now. So definitely visit my site, Lifeplan360.com, our advisor site, to learn more. Just a little bit of background. I've been self-employed for many years as an entrepreneur and real estate hacker. But for the last 7 years now, I have been working in financial services, helping hundreds of families, really protect the things that they love. So really excited again to share this with you today. Let's get right into it. Let me ask you guys a question. A big reason why everybody is going to really want to see this is because we all, a lot of us face the same issues. So let me ask you: do you have more, month than money, or money than month? So yeah, 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now, and it's not just due, and really that hasn't changed because of the pandemic. It was the same prior to the pandemic. So why? So let's take a look at some of the statistics. And what was really important for me to share with you guys is, um, I don't want to just look at the highest income earners, or even the lowest income earners. Let's just take a look at the average income in the U.S. Just over $43,000. Um, let's look at what their current budget looks like. So over a 40-year career, if we look at um, how they're spending their money, and more importantly, if we look at what we're currently being taught to budget with, we're told things like, budget your discretionary spending, budget your food spending, your transportation, maybe even shop around for utilities, or your housing. But when you really look at the average American's budget, where really is that income going every year and over the course of 40 years and beyond that? Yeah, obviously, as you can see here, most Americans, anywhere from 40% on up, or more, go to interest and taxes. So, are we being taught how to avoid those taxes, and how to not only avoid the interest, but potentially even eliminate interest altogether? Imagine how much money could be freed up to pay for things like college, to pay for things like ensuring you have enough for retirement. So that's ultimately what we're going to be getting into. So I want to show you this example, and this might be a little bit extreme, but really emphasizes the point here. Let's take a look at Elvis Presley, because at the time of his death, his estate was worth $10 million. But after estate tax is a little known tax that we don't really consider, because often we consider things like sales tax, property tax, and obviously we all know income tax, but there are so many other taxes that we don't consider, and really don't put a plan in place to mitigate, is estate taxes. So at the time of Elvis's death, his estate was worth $10 million. But after probate, after estate taxes, and just attorney fees, legal fees, his family only received less than $3 million. Only 27% of his estate. So if you're planning on leaving a legacy, and you're planning on ensuring that your family is not left with debt, then it's really difficult if over 70% of your wealth goes to estate taxes, if you're not planning for that. And that's where I want everyone to be. I want everybody to have millions to pass down, with in a number of assets. So what's the solution, right? Ultimately, we need to stop paying the bank and giving free loans to the federal government in the form of paying your taxes in advance, and getting excited about getting a refund, because that money was really yours in the first place. All right, so is there a solution? What if I told you there are little known financial vehicles that already exist now, that are designed to shelter funds from taxes and provide guaranteed returns, build liquid accessible equity, and provide transferable benefits? Could you be the bank? And that's ultimately what I'm going to be answering for you today. So before we do, I want to ensure, I told you that I was going to provide you with some real tactical information and things that you can do right away to ensure that you're not falling into these traps. So the first big mistake, is really the starting line. And we all know this. It's credit card debt. It's one of those that has been looming over us for a long time. Really just crushing a lot of families. So and what I like to say is really it's this game that we play. I can remember when I was 18 years old, and um, having to beg for credit. Going to numerous banks to get a loan for a car, or once you realize that you need multiple lines of credit to build it, you need history to have good credit. You're kind of begging, but you don't have any credit yet. You haven't established any history, so it's really difficult. You're often left begging for credit, but it's this game that we play. We're playing right into what banks want you to be playing into, because we're sitting here thinking we're all fighting for the highest score, thinking that it's going to give us the best interest rates, which it will. It'll definitely help your interest rates, and it'll definitely help you save some money if you're using the bank. But at the end of the day, who is it really benefiting? Yeah, it's benefiting these financial institutions. They're the ones who are ultimately winning at the end of this game. They're the house. They're going to win, and we all playing right into it. So that's the first big mistake. So let me give you an example. Let's say you give the bank $10,000, in the form of a CD, or you putting into your savings account. They might give you 1% return. And what the most important thing that you want to consider is, what are they going to do with that, right? They're gonna leverage it. They're going to use not only the money that you have in the bank, but everybody else's, and tenfold. They're going to loan that back out. So if you were to walk into the bank the very next day and try to get a $10,000 loan, what kind of interest rates are you going to be charged? What do you think that's going to be? Yeah, it's going to be significantly higher than 1%. I mean, 12%, 10%, 14%, 16%, depending on your credit, right? So their money is working twice or three times. And it's not their money, it's your money. You're allowing them to use your money to work twice for them. They're earning interest in the investments that they make, and they're loaning that money out to you by leveraging it, right? So their money is working twice. So can you make your money work twice? And that's what we're going to be answering for you guys today. So the second mistake is, first we're playing this credit score game, but who really sets the interest rates? I mean, let's assume that you have the highest possible credit score. It doesn't mean that you're going to even be approved. You might have too much, too many loans out there, or at the end of the day, who really sets the rates? The federal government does. We're really not in control over what we're going to be charged in terms of taking out a loan or needing money from a bank. So whose money is really working right now? It's your money, and it's working for them. So what if you could be your own bank? Can you self-bank? Can you give your dollar two jobs and create compounding interest on that for yourself? And again, that's what we're going to be answering for you today. So the third big mistake is one age-old question that that we're often asked, and I think there's a lot of confusion. I'm sure if I ask this, is your home an asset or a liability? There's a lot of confusion out there. So I want to give you an answer to that, because it is an asset. You have equity in your home. You can use it to offset your taxes in the form of deductions, and actually increase your cash flow. And that's one of the tools that that we use that we're going to be talking about. So ultimately, you need to stop letting the bank do that. Stop paying them, and do that for yourself. So, we're almost there, and by now you may be starting to see where this is going. But I want you to listen to this before. Again, I said I was going to leave you with some real tactical information. So let's consider a few things about. Absolutely, yeah. About how you are taught to save right now. So first, another age-old question that is interesting to me because we're told, do we want to tax the seed or do we want to tax the tree? I've heard this so many times. And what they're referring to is, your retirement accounts, whether you're going with a 401k, whether you're going with a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, you're basically given a decision. Do you want to make contributions tax deferred and allow more money to go into your retirement account initially, or do you want to make contributions post tax as a Roth IRA and pay taxes up front and pay the growth taxes when you want to withdraw that. So if I were to ask you, which is it? Do you want to pay taxes on the seed or the plant? Well, what if I told you it's neither? If you truly wanted to save, you're going to pay taxes on either of these, right? And let's take another example that happens all too often to our families. Life happens. Sometimes you need that money, and if you've done the right thing in saving for your retirement and putting as much as you can, what if you needed that? What if there was an emergency, and you needed that money? You're going to be penalized. Few people realize that if you need access to that money, you're going to pay a 10% penalty prior to a retirement age. And then if it's in a Roth or traditional, you're also going to pay taxes on that. In a Roth, you're going to pay taxes on the growth. As a traditional, you're going to pay taxes on the entire amount. So is that really, the best plan for you? I don't think so. The second way that we're taught, through your 401k, and this one's really interesting to me because, there's been so much media attention to hedge funds losing millions and even billions of money and actually families' money, so it's sad. But what's funny is we're talking about saving these hedge funds, and ultimately who is this benefiting? This is benefiting these hedge fund managers, right? These financial institutions. Another article came out recently as well that hedge fund managers pay raises to $2.4 million, but they're concerned about losing money on the GameStop short squeeze, right? When little do we know that we could take control over these funds, right? We have the power, and we're able to stop paying the bank. So let me give you an example. Let's take a 401k, okay, and let's say that you invested $100,000 over a 20-year period. And I'm actually going to give you a comparison, but before I do, I want you to consider really who does that $100,000 benefit. So, okay, at the end of 20 years, you want to withdraw that, and assuming that you had an average rate of return, when you need to withdraw that, and also let's assume that you're of retirement age, so you're not going to receive the 10% penalty. So this is without the 10% penalty, you're going to pay the IRS $25,000 of from your initial investment. Your employer who sponsored your 401k is going to get $26,000 up to $26,000 in deductions. That's going to directly offset how much they're paying in taxes. And then finally, you're going to pay anywhere from $31,000 or more in to the bank, in management fees. So who does this really benefit? It doesn't really look like it's benefiting you at the end of the day. So and then lastly, the last thing we're all taught is, to rely on Social Security. So here's an example of something that we see all too often, right? Um, we see people, um, still looking for work past 65. It's an all too common occurrence. So do you, still want to work after 65? Can we really rely on Social Security? Because property taxes continue to increase. Even though you're don't have a main income, you're still going to pay property taxes, and worse yet, your family has to look forward to estate taxes. So it's really difficult to just rely on Social Security. So here's the ultimate question: is everything that you've been taught best for you? And the answer is no. We have to stop paying the bank. So, this comes to my favorite part. I want to really share, our plan, a plan that prevents you from paying the bank and prevents you from paying as. So, we provide a unique approach to financial education first. We take control over spending, debt, savings, and taxes, most importantly. And at the same time, we're avoiding risk and securing retirement with guaranteed growth. So what is it? What is it that we do? Earlier I mentioned there are little known vehicles that you can get this accomplished with. So we build your own bank. I've been saying throughout this webinar that you have to stop paying the bank. What if you could pay yourself, right? What if you can take a loan and not have to ask the bank? So we do just that. We provide a vehicle that gives you a debt-free plan. It protects you from creditors. It's probate-free. It's penalty-free. It's 100% protection and tax-free. No management fees and no credit checks to borrow. So let me repeat that. We help you build a bank with no management fees, with protection from creditors, and no credit checks to borrow. No need to ensure that you have the highest credit score, right? No need to submit an application just to determine if you're going to be approved, right? And no more paying the bank. So, obviously, you're going to want to learn more about that, and we're going to talk about how you can see your own plan here in just a moment. But before we do, I want to share, as I mentioned earlier, that same $100,000 that we looked at. Who was it really benefiting, right? Your employer, the IRS, and even the hedge funds. But let's see what that did for you. And I'm going to take a real life example here. Let's say you were 35 years old in 1998, and you invested that $100 into a 401k, and just taking into account a 1.5% management fee, which if you're lucky, you would have, because people pay as high as 3 and 4% with all the hidden fees from mutual funds and from these financial institutions that you end up paying every year out of your 401k. Let's just assume that you're only paying 1.5%. So adjusted annually at 1.5%, between 1998 and 2016, charted by the orange line here, you'll see exactly what would happen to your money. And at the end of 2016, if you needed to withdraw that, again, assuming that you're not paying a penalty, let's just assume that you're of retirement age or qualified to take that withdrawal. After paying taxes, you're left with, yes, exactly, $100,000. Your $100,000 turned into $100,000 in the S&P 500. And assuming that you met the the returns of the S&P 500 every year, because most funds don't even match the S&P 500. Actually, less than 90% of them match or beat the S&P 500. So let's assume you took that same $100,000 and invested over a 2-year period between 1998 and 1999. With our plan and guaranteed growth, you would be left with over $160,000, penalty-free, risk-free, and most importantly, tax-free. You would have access to that over $160,000 as if it were liquid. So I'm sure that you guys are excited to learn how, I really appreciate you guys taking up half an hour on your weekend and joining on Super Bowl weekend. But if you want to learn how this could work for you, I will be accepting free bookings for the first 10 that join. So I've included a link in the comments. I believe you can see it there. If not, take the booking link on Facebook here, or message me directly at lifeplanadvisor.com, and I'm happy to show you how this plan can help you and your family.